Welcome to On the Chain.
We're starting to talk about it a little bit yesterday. The SEC is simply illogical. And I don't know how you can put anything into perspective to say that they have any kind of logic or anything smart coming out of them lately. But let's see what Deaton has. Let's workshop this one a little bit. We don't have to go through the whole thing. But I just like taking out a little snippet here. There's no chance the SEC is generally interested in helping any crypto company come into compliance. Their real goal is just control. Taking that kind of a statement, I think, is really important. And as John Deaton is going to really dig in and look at this, what's your thought just on that opening statement? We haven't even gotten into the article yet. And if you were to read that and say, hey, maybe that's all FUD, maybe that's not even real, but it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is largely what's happened to a lot of regulatory bodies inside the U.S., but also too, just to go a step further, I mean, government's broken pretty much in the U.S., right? The whole idea of forming government was limited government that worked on behalf of the people, and we're way far away from that. Because if we think about the SEC, I mean, the basic logic would dictate that if you're out to protect investors, why would you erode $15 billion in market, cap, and just basically erode people's hard-earned money, right? People that made an investment in XRP, and you basically destroyed that with this frivolous lawsuit. So I don't see where, I honestly think that, when you think about illogical, you got to start there, right? I mean, that don't make no sense, as they say, Jeff. It doesn't make any sense at all.
And, you look at this, you say, how is it that the SEC would have any kind of logic or have the best interest of the people at heart when maybe for the first time ever, and I think we've clarified that with John Deaton and other attorneys, that to have 75,000 plus holders of an asset come out against the SEC's protection of them, basically saying you're doing the wrong thing, and actually what you're doing is harming all of us. And we're talking about 75,000 plus. There's obviously a lot more XRP holders, and there's probably XRP holders out there that have not joined onto,
Yes.
the action that John Deaton is taking on the behalf of all those XRP holders. But here you have the SEC central theory, as we know, we've dug into this so many times. The XRP token itself is a security. Obviously, that's super problematic for a lot of reasons. The SEC based this on the allegation that the very nature of a digital asset is to be a security and nothing else, making XRP the embodiment of an investment contract with Ripple, no matter who holds it, uses it, or sells it. Now, one of the things that I'm going to take out of this one, which then would translate to all these other assets, Bitcoin, Ethereum, library, it doesn't matter, that at the very essence, the very nature of the digital asset is that it's a security. That would mean all digital assets would be securities. And you can't have rules for one and then apply different rules for another. It doesn't make sense. Either you have one path of clarity or you have no path of clarity. And if you have no path of clarity, then what are you applying? What exactly are you doing? And why would Chip, looking at all of that, why would we even look to a Gary Gensler as like the all-knowing? He's the guy that we all want to put in charge of this.
Yeah, I mean, that's scary, but it's like, it's always that old saying, like, rules for thee, not for we. It's like it's never that, it's like, do as I said, not as I do type of thing. And the funny part about this whole thing is that when you think about the SEC or any of these, we've lost our way, right? The United States has lost the plot. It's lost its way in a big way because we've gotten away from, again, what the founding of the country was all about, limited government and, follow basically the Constitution. And we've gotten so far away from that we've had to, it's just gotten so complicated. The best thing to ever do is to just eliminate a lot of it and let's start over, right? Get rid of these regulatory bodies. You got this one. They're so protecting us that you could have this massive collapse with like something like an FTX. There's a failure by and then look at Duquan, you know, he's going around there talking big game and everything, and then you have that massive collapse. What happened? Investors got hurt, right? So where were they? Where these tokens collapsed? Where were they? The FTX collapse. I'll tell you where they were. They were going out to dinner together, high-fiving each other and praising each other, and talking about, you know, how they could make, I guess, regulations or something that would be friendly. And then on the back door, they're saying, "Oh no, this is bad." But they fell asleep at the job. You know who was on the job when FTX went under and some of these other major tokens? Gary Gensler. So he failed miserably, and that was the one thing. But meanwhile, he's over there talking about an asset that's totally decentralized, going to tell us what the better part of this is. And this is the big problem I have. But I think we got to get back to a smaller government. We got to get back to a more efficient government. And people are tired, man. I mean, we've gone from living our lives just minding our own business to like, hey, stop, just stop, right? And if anything's shown a bright light on that, it was the last 3 years. But the bad of it was, a lot of stuff happened. The good was a lot of people are awake. They got the pots and pans. They've got the metal spatulas, and they're banging it pretty loud, walking up and down the street saying, "We're not taking it anymore. We're sick of it. We're not taking it anymore." Right? Mad as hell. We're not taking it anymore. Remember that movie, Jeff? Mad as hell. We ain't speaking it anymore.
And we're done. That's it. We are done. We're done with it. And Deaton is going to put the SEC in their place because, Chip, we are fed up with it. You know, so here, you know, Filecoin, Library. Obviously, you know, we're seeing a lot of other action, Ripple. But to illustrate the Filecoin trust situation through that prism, the agency's lawyers are starting to chase after grocers who are selling the oranges in a nearby town. This is how absurd this has become. Given how the SEC has treated secondary market sales of XRP in the Ripple case, those proverbial grocers now can't claim innocence by providing they bought the oranges from a middleman and not the Howey company. This is how the SEC is like twisting, you know, the narrative, and they're creating their own fiction under the SEC's. Oh yeah, under
that weird,
I don't know why it does that.
Cause that weird thing.
Under the SEC's new legal theory on cryptocurrency, those oranges are forever tied to the Howey investment and are thus always illegal. That is in effect what just happened to Grayscale, just like it did in the run-ups to suing Ripple over XRP. The SEC is not going to find a path for registering Filecoin as a security because there's no real way to register an asset that is practical utility on a decentralized file sharing network. Logic simply does not enter the SEC's thinking. Chip, that's a lot that's packed in to 3 short paragraphs. He's saying a lot. It's very meaningful what he's saying. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's making a really good point. Is like, even if you go back to Howey, the oranges, the equivalent of what John's saying there is that the XRP or Filecoin or any of these are the security, when in fact, no, it's more about the scheme of the packaging of it, right? If you go back to the Howey, the 1946, whatever it was, 1947, it was the scheme of how they packaged it. Hey, we're going to sell the oranges for you. We'll take them to market. We'll work the land. We'll do all this stuff for you. There was an expectation of profit. You were relying on somebody else. They were doing all the work, right? So, but the oranges were never in question, and they were certainly never the security. But the SEC's thinking of the illogical behavior here as well. That's okay because the digital asset is the security, and that's just some really backwards thinking. And John puts it eloquently in just a very simple sort of analogy. But this is where I just don't know how it falls short. And again, anytime you have new technology, there's going to be a missing, Jeff. There's always going to be somebody that's not going to quite be able to put the dots together. You know, a lot of what happened, if we look back in time, I'm a little bit shocked at how well the .com rollout went, because at one point Congress is trying to tax it, eventually they figured out ways to tax, right? But they didn't slow the growth. They said, hey, let's take a step back. You know, you had some bipartisan support, like, hey, we don't know. But instead of going after it and crushing it and saying we can't have this because the internet is gonna interfere with this, or it's this, you know, trying to be the straw man, the demon, trying to single it out. Everybody took a step back and let's say, hey, we don't know where it's going to go. Let's let it develop. And in the United States, that's not the same methodology we're seeing because there's a lot more at stake. Yeah, sure, local businesses were hurt with the growth of behemoths like Amazon and the mom and pop and the brick and mortar stores were. But what do we have? What do we have right now? Well, the big thing we've got going on right now are the banks, right? Where's the big threat? Where's the big threat coming out of this?
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.